And here he is, Ryan, fresh off the episode, man. I think I'm sort of in the camp where I wasn't particularly fond of it. Ez is in the camp where he was. Where are you at, man?
All right. So I got through the episode the same time that you guys did. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for welcoming me in. And actually, I do want to take a moment before we get into this to thank both of you guys and the community that you've created, all the people in the comments that have had nice things to say to me, because this is something that's new to me, being live, so I'm a little bit nervous. And I'm very grateful. I'm happy I could help you guys. I'm glad that you guys give me the opportunity to come in here.
Man, absolutely. We
so
love it.
Much fun, great community. I love it. It's great. This episode, here's where I'm at, and I'm glad that I didn't have to jump on right away like you guys did, because right away I was really disappointed, but it's only because of how it ended. I go back and look at the episode. Thank you, Mantis. I love that name too. Mm-hmm. Every time I see his name pop up in the comments.
Yeah.
As I sat there and thought about the episode, there was a lot of really good in this episode. I really like what they did with the horn. It's different from the books, but it doesn't take away.
Right.
We didn't have the time to do what they did with the horn in the books, and maybe there was different plan if the situation with Matt doesn't go that way.
Right.
The ending, I'm not mad at the ending. I don't even want to say I'm let down. I'm just disappointed that it was so mild. Like you were talking about, as in the book, it's so epic. Rand really, I don't even know if you could call it Rand leveling up. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just trusts, I'm going for it. You're this big, powerful evil. I have to just dive in, and what happens. And it's so epic in the book. But again, this is a TV show, so we have to keep that in our mind. We got to step away and understand that a show is going to make some changes. I don't like it, but I'm okay with it. What they did with the actor who plays the Dark One, when they get rid of that, and I don't even want to call it cringy. Yeah. When we first see him in the first couple episodes, just that quick little snippet of him, with the cartoonish face and the fire eyes.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't the cartoon. And maybe that's not the right word to use. I wish it would have been a little bit more whatever, but the fact that they get rid of that right away in this episode, I'm really grateful for. And the fact that they give it, I think putting a human face on that character really gives some more power, and his calmness and his demeanor. And he's just like, there's nothing that you can do to me. And he just so simply takes care of Moiraine. I really like what they did with his character. And then the whole interaction with Rand and that field with the baby. And there's so much to this episode that I really like. Even the battle outside of the Blight and the eye, all of that's great. I see some people weren't a fan of how they handled things with the women, locking together, but it's a little bit of a callback to what we see earlier when they need 3 and more women just to hold Logain down.
Right.
So I'm okay with that. I it's different from the book, so part of me is like, whatever, but I liked it because, like someone else said, the lightning coming down and just wrecking those Trollocs and you see it flying. I love that. That was great.
Yeah.
The season, I loved the season. They did a great job thinking about all that they had to put into 8 one-hour episodes.
Right.
I think they did a really good job. There was some things that I wish they would have done differently. I wish we'd have gotten more lore or backstory on the Forsaken and the Dark Ones, and that was something that I commented on
that.
But I think part of why this ending was so mild and so quick is probably the better word to use. Right. Is because they didn't build it up to be anything special. And that's probably something they're planning to do in these future, at least in the next season, when we start diving into the history of the Forsaken and what happened with Luz Theremin, and Adamant, if that's how you want to say it. Are we going to get the Green Man next year? Are we going to have a battle where they ran? Well, if they decide to introduce us to a couple of the Forsaken, are we going to get?
Yeah.
I don't know how they could do it, but I mean, the Green Man's probably going to be something that people are screaming, "Hey, we wanted to see him." Maybe they'll decide to add him in.
Ryan,
I don't know.
Hey,
they got a lot of different places they can go.
First of all, I'm glad I stuck around because Ryan has got me fired up once again. Okay, because here's the thing. And sorry if I break up a little bit. You guys hear me? Okay? Am I breaking up?
Yeah,
a little bit?
We can hear you now.
You're back.
Just for a second.
All right, I'm back. All right, I'm breaking up. All right, but let me tell you this. So the beginning of the episode, like you said, it hits, and you forget about that because of the ending, and you go back and you're like, wow, it did hit when they. Matt was on here with me when they got the hammers out and started pulling up the Horn of Valir. I about lost my ever-living mind.
The Horn of freaking Valir, I think, is what Uno said.
What did I just say? What did I say?
No, I think Uno said the Horn of. Did he say the?
Oh,
he said the. Yeah. He didn't say the F word, but he said, "Was he say freaking?"
Yeah.
He didn't say freaking. Did I have to go back and look exactly?
The bloody.
I think he did.
The bloody horn or something.
Yeah, he said something. Yeah, the bloody horn of Valir. Yeah,
man, it was
great.
But you're right. It's like those moments are there, and it was building. It was awesome, and then you do get kind of this. Stephanie said it earlier too. The eye of the world when you finish reading the book, it is meant to be kind of confusing. You're sort of like, wait, what? Did we win? Did we not win?
Jimmy.
So yeah.
Love Jimmy. Go follow Jimmy's show.
Absolutely. Everybody go check out the fantasy. I'll get that pulled up. They're going.
Oh my God. So I'll just read he said. What did he say? He said something about Rafe.
This is why Rafe was eliminated from Survivor.
Oh my God, Jimmy, what the heck? But yeah, no. Back to what you were saying, Ryan. Just in terms of like this episode and how it was pieced together. Really good point about the Forsaken, about the Dark One and him having a face. Matt and I happened to see a leak beforehand, and the first moment I saw him, I was like chills. Saw the jacket, saw the suit. I was like, holy smokes. I mean, it's chilling. And the actor does a great job, humanizes it. It feels more real. I actually like that because in the book, it is just a balsam-on, dark, fiery-eyed character, and it's a bit crazy. So, yeah.
So let's just pull it up. So everyone, here's our fearless show leader.
Oh my God, we're going to get shut down.
He was a contestant on Survivor, right? Oh no! Oh no! Oh, this is for the people who hated the episode. I'm gonna give them just a little bit of light here. Okay, here we go, Rafe. You can make it. You can make it across. You can give us the show we want. Okay, finish season 1, Rafe. Rafe, no, Rafe, no.
Hold on.
No.
You know, the rumor was that Rafe was going to come on your show at some point over the break.
He's never
do an interview. If you guys could have gotten up to like 250, 300 people viewing live, but after that, you guys are out.
No,
We're out.
He's gone.
We're out.
He's gone. His light was literally extinguished. Okay, he literally. Can he serve the light when his light was extinguished?
It's all making sense now. You know, it's all making. Oh God. Guys, that's unreal. That is unreal. No, I do think again, he wanted more. Rafe did want more time for this. Wanted more episodes. Wanted that opener. I feel like he's doing a great job. We're poking.
I do. I do overall think. I do overall like the season. And again, it's a tall task to sort of do this. And I think there was an Amazon quote where they said they're committed to doing this. And I think, even some of the issues I have with season 1, I'm willing to see how it looks at the end of season 2. Because I give pretty much any show, I'm willing to give to a season 2, because you do your season 1, then you get all the feedback, you use that feedback to change and try to sort of make it, to make it better. So
yeah,
I think we're all on Rafe's side here. We want the best show we can get, and
that's right.
Watching this season, I'm happy. There's a lot I really liked about it.
Right.
So I think we're all here to encourage Rafe, and not we are just joking.
Yeah.
But
because it's just jarring. It's just been a jarring end, and I think I'm sitting here still like I almost am anxious to just go rewatch it again, and
I'll agree here too. And a lot of, we've been saying 8 episodes a season might be the thing, but man, I gotta say, after I really think as we push forward, especially because we're really only through one book, somewhere something's getting cut like significantly, right?
Yeah.
And I almost feel like going forward, we do almost need 10 episodes a season. I think 10 episodes would serve a lot of purposes. One, as we get further and further into the books, stuff's going to start getting axed, and we're going to need to sort of start preserving stuff and shifting stuff around and making that all work. But the other thing is, especially as we talked about it this episode with Perrin a little bit, giving enough time for characters' stories to kind of develop and stuff like that, especially as we get even further spread away from each other, is going to be important. And I really feel like 10 episodes would really assist that.
What Game of Thrones was 8, wasn't it?
No, Game of Thrones,
they were always 10.
Game of Thrones was 10,
and
the last two were shorter.
Seasons, yeah.
Okay. I mean, if Game of Thrones can get 10, this was the number. Again, I know Matt talked about some of the competition early on that it's facing, but I feel like the budget's got to go up. I mean, I feel like they've got to.
Oh, it will. I mean, ratings wise, this show is doing well. So they've already greenlit it through season 3. I mean, Amazon, again, remember this is that Amazon as sort of a as like Amazon Prime and studios and stuff like that, they're really behind the curve compared to like Netflix and Disney and HBO, Time Warner Media, in that they're still really new to this, because even though it's like, well, you just make a TV show, you just go hire people, you do whatever you got to do, any of that stuff. Like, Disney's been making movies for a long time. Warner Brothers has been making movies and television for a long time. Like, Amazon's still kind of new to this. Like, they really have only had 4 or 5 like bigger hit shows. They did just buy a movie studio in MGM, so they're going to be getting a lot more talented people. Not that MGM is the greatest movie asset studio to own, but you're going to be bringing in more talented people. So it's good. I think it'll get better. I do think and not that I really thought season 1 was bad or anything, but I do think going forward, production and all this stuff is gonna scale up.
Yeah. Let's talk about one thing too. Just things that need improved or whatever. I actually want to talk about one character before I pop out of here. Lan. Ryan, what did you think about? I mean, was that like thoughts on Lan this episode? I'm not being funny about that.
No. Yeah.
Because there was a good moment in the beginning, right? It's really good stuff between him and Nynaeve.
Really enjoyed the actor portraying him. Did a great job. They cast him perfectly.
Yeah.
I loved his character arc throughout the season. I was really happy with what they decided to do with the plot dynamic with him and Nynaeve, where instead of pushing it all the way to the end, they started filtering it in a little bit more. And then you get almost that blessing from Moiraine. And I think it was last week's episode when she says, I really like her, the wisdom.
Right.
Like I'm wondering in her mind, is she saying, yeah, I'm going to the Eye to die. I'm going to but I'm going to shield my bond with him. So when I'm gone, I'm giving him permission. He can go to her.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just in my head, if that's how it went in the books, if that's what they're going to do with the show, but that's just kind of how I'm seeing it. I was a little disappointed in my head after last week. I really thought Lan was going to have a big part to play in what goes on in the Blight / the Eye of the World. And he gets there just at the end. So and with all the action and all the things happening in this episode, they really didn't do anything for his character. He literally just leaves and then shows up at the end. And he's so clutch throughout this whole season. I feel like that was a missed opportunity that they could have really raised him up into an even more, just a BA. Just he goes out there and he does something massive.
Right, because the Dark One kind of mocked Rand when he saw the heron marked blade, and we got a great comment here from Andrew just saying that the Land and Nynaeve stuff is great, but his action, the blade stuff, the Blade Master bit needs to go up.
Definitely,
right? We need
100%. Yeah, and I'd actually really love to see. I'd really actually love for people who really didn't like this season. What would you do in season 2 differently? Because I'd really like to see what some, because I know what I would do, but I'm already kind of like it. book club's gonna be book clubs, but I mean, I guess what would you do in season 2? What would your season 2 look like, in order to sort of improve it from where you think we're potentially at,
where we're lacking in this season? That'd be an interesting question to see what people say. And
Yeah,
I'm sure you guys will get lots of emails on it and be able to bring it into the podcast. So anyone watching live now, you gotta start listening to the podcast so you can follow along with those.
There we go. Ryan with
here we go. Rand hasn't been trained. Please train him in the sword. Yes, definitely will need that in season 2.
Well, and they're saying though that he's gone, right? He's gone. He has to come back.
He does that in is it book 3 where he says, or no,
it's a little bit. It's a little bit of book 2.
Yeah, he says I have to leave because I don't want to take them down when I go mad, and I don't know how long that lasts. Doesn't seem like it lasts that long before he ends up back together with some of them.
Right. Well, because then the horn and everything gets stolen.
He catches the horn and they catch up with him. I think that's how the book goes. But and I don't think they're going to do that too much. In this, that's a good question. Where are they going to take Matt now at the beginning of next season? Because he doesn't know that the horn's been stolen. What's in his mind? What's his mission?
Are the Reds going to do something with him? Since that was the hint in the last episode. The Dark One, right? If you want to call him that, or Balzman Ashamael, does notice the heron marked blade. Where'd you get that?
Yep.
So that was there.
Yeah, I think there's more healing that needs to be done, right? Like from the White Tower, or some darkness is still there. Hopefully, I mean, Moiraine though did say for the Red Aja to go pick him up. I feel like he's gonna avoid them. And from there, who knows?
Yeah.
So,
is there any way you just do the Great Hunt next season?
Just the Great Hunt?
Yeah.
Could you get more than 3 episodes out of it? I mean, after we see how quick they move through these episodes, I mean, maybe 4,
I mean, season one was 1 book. I mean, do you just make season 2 the Great Hunt?
I feel like
it'd slow way down. Like it'd slow way down if you did that.
You would have lots of time for information dumps and to really dig into history and all that, maybe do flashbacks and things, but I can't see that. I think they're gonna blend 2 and 3, like you guys have been saying all along, and even people in the comments all season have been saying.
Yeah, because if you were gonna do just the Great Hunt, as Matt is suggesting, you've got to get
an idea. Just
as an idea. Kyrian, you could do a bit more there at the Game of Houses, kind of, or whatever. Matt goes to Camelin and figures out stuff's not, going well there. I think
we do need to pull in Elaine and the Queen and all that.
Yeah.
So maybe we get a lot of book 2 and maybe not so much of book 3 if they're going to blend.
Well, because just thinking about what they did with season 1, and I guess if you want season 1 to just be sort of the eye of the world, that's fine. But a lot of the character development and power scaling, I would say, again, I've said this before, is way further along. So if season 2 is just sort of the Great Hunt's plot, but you're pulling forward character development and plot and stuff like that, then how would it look? Because again, even my idea of blending 2 and 3, it still ends for me with really the ending of book 2, which is the Horn of Valyr has to sound, and I think that's 100% happening now, especially since Padan Fain took it. Like, it's definitely going to end with us getting the horn and then using it, right?
Oh yeah.
And so Kalendor may actually not even be involved, which I've been kind of thinking. I've kind of thought you take that and have the ending of 2 and 3, because it's kind of the same thing happens. Is like everyone's on the outside doing stuff. Rand's like one-on-one with somebody at the end of really both 2 and 3.
Yep.
And, you know, just in 3, it's Kalendor. So I've kind of really thought they're kind of like the same.
Right.
In terms of just the way the scenes are structured. And I think for TV, it's easy to sort of just blend those into one thing.
And think about this in the Great Hunt. Remember, Moiraine goes away, essentially. She's not even necessarily in the book at all. So they've set us up for that. Like now, Varen could step in. I think they might actually do that and bring Varen in and make her kind of filling. But then it's like you didn't see her woven into that circle with Suan. Maybe Suan says Moiraine is gone and I need you in on some of this because it's just weird. But she's gone for like a whole book and then comes back. I mean, at the end, she's there. Don't get me wrong, but not much is going on with Moiraine. So
yeah.
Wayne,
I need a lot of people are saying this is where I'm at too, is you spend a lot of time at the tower with the girls and you can lore dump a lot of stuff, which then once you've done it, you don't necessarily have to go back to it. And then it's all sort of explained, which I do think is one of the issues a little bit with season 1 was like some stuff's happening and you're like, this isn't explained.
Yeah. So, okay, Matt, I have people going from like, we could slow it down like that, do some lore dumping to then while that's happening, Stephanie's proposing, what if Rand brings the Aiel to fight the invaders? Like full on, we go from slower down on this half of the continent to ramp it up to like stuff way later in the book and just bring them on in and let's go crazy. Because that's the Shan-Chen and like the Aiel have their wise ones and
I like that idea because I'm trying to think in Rand's mind, what's his next step from where we see him end this episode. He's understands now that he is Aiel.
Yeah.
That might be in his mind. I'm going to go to my homeland and find out what that's about.
What if, what if we're really like, again, what if we start pulling stuff from like books 6 and 8 and 10? I mean, and it's just like,
they're just rewriting the timeline.
I mean, just think about the whole deal. Is they've said we're adapting this whole thing, and they're just like, it doesn't necessarily, because I am okay with the idea that it doesn't necessarily have to go in order, as long as like the heart is there and the story is there and stuff like that. Like so far, I feel like they've mostly gotten the characters down, with kind of the exception of Matt. I feel like Matt is definitely a little different than he is in the books. But like Nynaeve feels like Nynaeve, Lan feels like Lan. I need more Rand for Rand to sort of feel like Rand.
Yeah.
But I feel like we can get that. So yeah, I mean, what if next season we just bring in the Aiel, and then
I'd love it.
He goes and fights Couladin, maybe.
Yeah, that could be a whole arc. I mean, while that's going on, it could be like a Daenerys situation, right? Which is this whole arc goes on in season 2 that's Rand, separate from everyone else doing their thing. So yeah, that'd be cool if they separated the arcs like that. But
it's interesting. Yeah, so definitely a lot of comments here. You know, like they have to track down Fane and the Horn. You notice Fane has the ruby dagger, right? This is how you bring Matt back to track the dagger because he's sort of bound to it. Let me see here. Will Rand get to Falma or Tyr with Lucas Circus? Oh God, thinking of men's viewing.
Oh my God, that's wild. Bring the circus chapters up. Let's go. Yeah, we're gonna push forward in that direction. Matt's out.
I am 100% out on circus chapters. 100%.
Yeah.
So one of my bigger questions when we think about these future seasons or episodes for Matt is, which season are we going to get to see him? When are we going to let our Matt get to see the show Matt finally get his kill shot on screen? Is that coming next season?
Is he going to fight Couladin? What's the deal?
Yeah, when's it happening? God, I think they will do, like, that's the kind of stuff where we've said they can expand. The show can do a better job. You know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think Ez has to roll out because it's like 3:30 in the morning over there.
Hey, I hung in for an extra half hour. I'm about to burn out. You know what I mean?
That's okay. Ryan and I are here. We will man the ship for a bit.
Yeah.
For a bit more here.
Ryan, good thoughts. Thanks, guys. Matt, I'll be back. And may the light be with you. All right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Later.
Yeah. So Ryan, what are your thoughts on, I guess, I don't know. Did I ask you this already? What season 1 as a whole?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it on my rant, my positive rant, I guess I'll say.
Right.
When I
may have been manning the chat a little
Yep.
bit. And so yeah.
I loved the season. There was so much, it's so much fun to see a season for the first time, right? We've all watched Game of Thrones more than once.
Yes.
Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, run the list off. We've seen them so many times. And even when you're talking about reading books, you're like, man, if I go back and watch that or read that again for the first time, I think it was really good. I really enjoyed it. There was so much, there's so little amount of things that I had issues with. And most of them were just things in my head from expectations that I wanted when I was thinking about the show to come, right before the show was launched. I'm not going to let the ending of this get me down. I think season 2 and season 3 are probably going to be better. I mean, I think that's an easy expectation to have. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Matt, how that goes, how they explain that, if they do anything with that, where they're going to take these characters. How much more Rand are we going to get in season 2 to really build him up, since they kept him kind of off to the side a little bit for most of the season. There's so much in this episode that I wrote down that I really
mean, what did you think of the pace of the episode? Because I kind of thought it was like, man, it's kind of fast and maybe a little jerky.
It does. The middle of the episode, the thing that I didn't like was like you touched on earlier, when they they shove the sword right through Moiraine's mouth, and then you're like, well, this is going to be a dream. There's no way they're going to do this.
Right.
Like, they're not going to kill her off, but if this isn't a dream, well, they're going to somehow have Rand have the the power to bring her back. And I'm like, that it, and you quickly realize, okay, yeah, this is just going to be a dream, but it didn't do anything for me. Like you touched on, it kind of burned down on it. And it did kind of call back the scene when they kill off Dana in, is it episode 3
yes.
or maybe it's 2? It's the same way. So it takes me back to that. And then I'm starting to think about the Aiel in the cage and Tom and where's Tom? What's Tom's role going to be? How's he going to come back into the fold?
We're definitely going to
kind of pull me out.
We're going to get more Tom, right. So really the two characters we'll be adding more of next season will be Tom and Matt.
I think, and I think they're going to be together.
Yes.
Like, I think right away they're gonna run into each other. Because in the book, it's Rand with, it's just Matt, right? Perrin's not with him. I'm getting it back. They're all three together.
Right. Well, Rand really runs into Tom when he's doing Deus de Mar.
In that mansion.
In the mansion, right, with all the ladies that are all.
We're all three boys together in that city, or is it just Matt and Rand? I feel like it's just Matt and Rand. I don't know where Perrin would be.
I don't remember specifically about that, but I do remember that's where.
Maybe they could tell us in the chat. We forgot.
Right. But then Matt and Tom go on like a bunch of adventures.
Right.
Definitely go on a bunch of adventures together. And I do think that's going to be interesting dynamic, because I actually really liked the actor who played Tom, and I do think Tom is one of my favorite characters in the books, and I think he's very important going forward. And so having him on screen more next season, I think will be a really good thing.
One thing that kind of surprised me, and in my head I expected to see a lot more of that we didn't get, was song. Right? We get Tom with his soft, beautiful song when he's in the tavern with Dana in that episode, and then we get the group singing about Manetheren, and then that's it. We don't get any more music, right? And after you get those, and they're so heartfelt, and they're giving us information, they're building up story. I thought I expected, and I believed we were going to get not a lot of that, but we were going to see that a few more times, and I'm surprised now, just reminding myself of it, that we didn't get it, because I did at some point believe we would. We
and
probably will.
Yeah, we probably will, and I think that, yeah, and I'm trying to figure out how exactly to sort of word this, because I do feel like the balancing act that you have to do, which is how do you world build and build characters and build plot, because you have to sort of devote time to each, and the things they chose. I will say, for me, this is probably my biggest criticisms of season 1, and I've already kind of said it, is I don't feel like they necessarily took the time to explain like why some things were happening, but not only why some things were happening, but why those things were important. Like the scene where in episode 5, where Lan takes on the grief for everyone, right? And they're doing like the thing at Stefan's funeral. Like, I don't feel like they really explained,
they don't
like,
dive
this
into
is what
it.
They just sort of say it, and you can definitely miss it, and you're like, okay, like, I get it. And I feel like they should have spent a little more time just explaining why this is important, because I definitely feel like they haven't. They sort of like sometimes build up the Dark One, but then they're focused on who's the dragon. And it felt like they didn't necessarily know exactly where they wanted their priority to be in terms of what's important. And so much of it is we're trying to do the whole who is the dragon. But then they sort of talk a little bit about like how the dragon was bad, but they never really talked about like why the dragon is super important in order to defeat the Dark One. And so then when we finally see the Dark One in this episode, or the Forsaken, they haven't really spent enough time building up who the Dark One is, to where it's like, it didn't hit exactly hard or right as I sort of thought it should.
There wasn't any build up. I mean,
right
through the whole season, we didn't get a lot of build, because at least for me, I felt like, and I mean, I'm coming from the book, so I know the story, I know all the different characters, but I'm trying to think of, as someone who doesn't know the story, doesn't come from the books, who did you think the villain was going to be? I mean, obviously, you know that the main villain's going to be the guy with the fire eyes, but you only see him a few times, and it's so quick. There's no detail, there's no backstory. You get Padan Fane, but even through the show, if you don't know that what he is from the books, how much do you realize? I mean, they're probably thinking that Matt's probably going to end up being a villain. With what happens in the middle of the season, you've got the Fade that they show, and the Trollocs, but who's? I mean, are they looking at the Fade being the big bad boss that we're gonna have to deal with? There just wasn't a lot. Yeah, they're just they didn't go to those details yet.
Yeah, there's definitely some stumbling points in season 1, but again, I feel like there's definitely still enough. There's enough good there that going forward, okay, begin to fix some things, improve some things, and then you sort of find your stride.
But with
like
all of that,
even Game of Thrones, I mean, it's like season 1, there's a couple sort of missteps and stuff like that. Then you get to season 2, okay, we've kind of got it down. You get to like Battle of Blackwater Bay. It's like the huge explosions. Okay, this show's like, it's got some special stuff. Then it's like season 3 is where it hits its absolute stride. Then like season 4 is like the best season, and then whatever. Then they ran out of source material after that.
I will say, for all of this, they gave us a lot. We got a lot in 8 episodes. If we'd have gotten 10, we probably could have gotten a lot more of what we're saying is missing. And while I think that it is important for people that didn't come from the books, it's probably not that big of a deal, because we're going to get it all next season. And then down the road, when people are rewatching and or they're thinking back, it's all going to make sense. So from our vantage point at this point, I think it seems like a bigger issue than it will be in the end.
Yeah. And remember that season 1 for any television show or Netflix or whatever streaming shows, ultimate goal, the only thing you have to do in a season 1 is get a season 2. That is like survive
in advance.
So many shows just get canceled after a season 1. And once you get it, like, you're good to go. Like, another show I watched, which I've liked, It's an older, it was like a BBC show called Merlin. I don't know if you're familiar.
I haven't watched it. It's on my list.
Which is all, it's pretty good, but it's like season 1 and season 2 are like vastly different compared to season 3, or maybe it's season 4. Can't really remember. But at some point they won an award, and like the quality that you're given in like the first like 2 seasons compared to season 3, or it might be season 4. I can't remember exactly which one it is. I mean, it is like night and day. I mean, it is like like they just got a huge budget upgrade, and it is like super apparent. And like another show I like, it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like the first season, you're like, this is okay. And then they were like, hey, we like it. We think it can go forward. We need to bring in a big star to sort of change it. They go hire Danny DeVito, and the rest is history. So a lot of shows, it's like literally just get to season 2 is that goal. So then you can kind of do that. And we obviously we're already set towards season 3. So we can definitely now reflect, adapt, change.
And a lot of the budget that they put into this season carries over into next season, because a lot of the sets are built up. A lot of the clothing and design and all these different things, those are investments already paid for. So the money that's going to come in can really go to just expand.
Plus, you've already now like created the visual effects that you're going to be using, like even like the CGI and stuff. Like you now not like, well, how are we going to make it look? Now you've already have an established art style, and it's just so much easier, so much quicker, so much faster to do, because you've already done it, and you've already set. Because going into the first season, you're like, well, I don't know, how are we going to make this all look? Art style, clothing, like you said. Now you already have an established look. Okay, now let's improve. We'll definitely.
And the human capital, all the people working, they're comfortable, right? They got through season 1. They know they're locked in. They've got an idea on what they're going to do. It's so much easier once you get past season 1.
Yeah, Matt did not go back to Faldara. Matt went back to the White Tower. He was at the Waygate, he left, and then we see him staring up at the White Tower. I was hoping for Rand in the sky too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because in the book, it's Rand is the one that sort of saves that defeats that big Trolloc army, and he doesn't. It's kind of all happening. It's all happening all at once.
And it's how everyone knows. Okay, yeah, this guy really is the dragon, or this guy really could be the dragon, because they're looking at it. They see the battle, they see how he wins, and then they see him turn around and be like, no, enough of this.
Yeah. What Game of Thrones season 1 was almost perfect. Hey, man, you're not going to find a bigger Game of Thrones guy than me. Go check out Ezra and I's Game of Thrones podcast, Bend the Knee, where we cover the whole deal. But just go look at Tyrion in that pilot episode with that like bleach blonde surfer hair, man. It definitely takes a step up.
The baby face.
It definitely takes a step up.
Let me take a quick aside here right now, because I thought of a question earlier today, and I wanted to throw it at the people in the comments so they can comment in as we continue the conversation. But I was thinking about Christmas gifts earlier today, and I saw someone posted something about the Aes Sedai rings. So if you're looking at this season and you're thinking about what kind of Christmas gifts you would want, would it be the clothing that you see from the show? Would it be the rings? Would it be the Heron sword? Would it be the horn of Valyr? What are you looking for?
Still haven't.
We haven't seen the horn, but I would want the horn, and I want to know what people would be looking for, because I think a lot of people would want those rings.
Yeah. I do kind of like but I want a Heron marked blade, man. Which again is something I do hope we discuss more. Obviously, and it's
such a big thing in the books, and with what Rand does and Lan does in the I think it'll be big.
Being a blade master is going to be important. First of all, I don't think Loyal's dead. Now look, I would tell you right now, if Loyal is dead, if they legitimately just killed Loyal off, then I am fine saying I'm out on season 2. I mean, I think all the book readers would be like officially done with season 2. Like, I'm out. I'm good. Shut it down. Shut the whole thing down.
Are they going to delay it and not bring it back till episode 2? Make us suffer.
Yeah. I don't know. Hey, real quick, just here on this comment. But Game of Thrones does end with such a huge twist. Yeah, I'm not saying Game of Thrones season 1 is bad. It's freaking phenomenal, but
It
it's just like
leveled up
season
a lot.
2.
It did
Season
level up a
2
lot.
definitely takes it up a big step. Same way I felt about The Witcher. I was like, man, I liked Witcher season 1 and I read those books, but season 2 of The Witcher for me is like, wow, it's just such a step up compared to season 1. Here we go. One small important detail I loved was when Moiraine talks about her struggle with assessing the one power. It is going to be important with Nynaeve in the future seasons. Definitely. Definitely.
I like that comment that you guys had earlier where you guys were talking about, is Moiraine going to take on Siwan's role from the books? That's really interesting to think about.
Where she sort of loses her power. Yeah, it could be where Moiraine can't use the power and has to sort of deal with that for a bit. I think you could, to where we're at now in the books. I don't want to go like super spoilery into this because it's such sort of a big important moment. You could have Moiraine continue, really, because she sort of does take a back seat a bit and is really just there more as an advisor, especially in like books 3 and 4 and even 5. Like especially books 4 and 5. She's just kind of there as like an advisor. Like you almost forget she's there, to be honest. And then what happens to her in book 5, I'm not saying she doesn't do big stuff. She does. There are definitely big moments. I know people in the chat are like, but I do feel like she could still feel that sort of role that she really ultimately kind of serves, which is really kind of an advisor to Rand. Like when they go to Yayo Waste and they're doing all this stuff. Then obviously her ending in book 5, you could still do it. You would have to kind of have it done in a different way.
Right.
Essentially, like with maybe somebody else who can channel, since Moiraine does channel for that moment. With Lanfear. So you could still do that, but so I don't know that it would her arc necessarily has to change without her having the power. I mean, there's definitely moments where she uses like Balefire and stuff like that. Those are important, obviously, but you can I think you could still have her fit her character role and sort of go at it. But ultimately it comes down to, why did they choose to do that is the thing, because it's one thing for us to sit here and say, well, I think this is how they should work it in to make it fit into the books. But it's obvious that they're not necessarily trying to make it fit in the books. They're doing their own thing. So I guess the bigger question is, why did they choose to go down that route?
My thought when I saw that after the episode, are they going to find a way to give her the power back? Is that going to be something at the end of season 2 into season 3 where Rand has leveled up so much that he goes, no, I'm the Dragon Reborn. I control all this power. Watch what I can do. Are they going to bring her back? Because she's such a huge role, especially from season 1. It'd be interesting to see if they go that route.
Right.
I mean, it feels like they have to. If you don't know, well, even if you know the books, it just seems like
maybe their goal isn't to sort of, because there's obviously a big portion of the books where Moiraine is sort of off screen, and she comes back later. Maybe they're not going to do that, because she's too important, or just change the way they do it. Or maybe they're trying to bring that forward a bit so that they can have it be sort of like a big shocker.
Kieran O'Neill asked about the ships, so I wanted to point that comment out so we could touch on that in a minute when we wrap this part of the conversation up, just before it gets lost on us, because that's something we could really dive into. But I don't want to leave or abandon what we're talking about here with Moiraine. Speaking of Moiraine and her channeling, when they start working with those portal stones, when they start traveling with that, because they can't get into the ways, which I assume we'll start seeing here in season 2, does she use the power? in that to catch up with them, or was that?
Where?
I'm trying to remember when they use the portal stones to, and they go into that other dimension, I guess would be the way to
Right, where they
phrase it.
see like the multiple lives with Varen. Right.
Right. There's two groups that travel, right? You get
I
Rand
believe so.
initially, and then I'm
Well,
trying
it's
to
like
remember
it's.
if she.
I think it's the group with Rand. I think it's Rand. Ingtar's there.
The hound, the hound, not the hound,
Varen's
but the sniffer.
Huron, the
Huron,
sniffer.
thank you. The
Yeah,
sniffer.
yeah, Huron is there. Who I think is going to be cut. I think Huron's going to be a cut character. I think you're just going to have, because later then they do kind of say, well, Perrin can do it. And so I do think that Perrin's just going to end up doing it. But yeah, I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, we'd have to go back and
but
look.
Moiraine is not with Rand.
No,
Rand is there.
she'd be in the other party, right? Don't they end up like they're trying to catch up with them and they're traveling through, or maybe it's a different part in the book where they're traveling that way. It's just something that popped in my head, and I was wondering if she used her power to access them. It was just something I wanted to throw in there.
Right.
I don't know what else she would use the power for where we would need it in the show if they're not going to give that back to her.
Yeah, I mean she uses Balefire a couple times.
That's big. Because it's not allowed. What do they say in Harry Potter? It's unforgivable.
Unforgivable.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because Balefire, especially for those of you guys who are show watchers only, which I know we have in here. It's not super spoiler. It's basically they use like, imagine them using a fireball, but it hits something. And what ends up happening though is that it begins to sort of burn threads in the pattern. And so it basically like ceases that person to sort of exist. So you see it where it attacks somebody and kills somebody basically. And then you can Balefire the thing that killed that person. And so then that person gets brought back to life because you basically sort of rewrote time. Essentially.
Yeah. Good comment there. Just it's a good reminder from the book, because that is heavy in the book, and it'll be in. I'm curious if we're going to get that. I was kind of hoping we might get a little bit in this season just to introduce us to it.
Right.
Because for me, I thought that the Balefire was something that was big from the books, and I was ready to see it now instead of waiting.
Right. And yeah, and we'll definitely have to see where they go and who the casting is going to be for season 2. And all that stuff, and when season 2 even comes out, right? Which is also going to be the interesting thing, because I think they're in production of it right now. I think they started filming season 2.
I know a lot of shows don't like to air during the summer, but the last season of Game of Thrones did, or one of the last 2 seasons did. Do you think they could push this up to where we start watching it in June or July, or do you think we have to wait for the fall? I mean, maybe not all the way to November, but
it's going to depend on Amazon's Lord of the Rings show, because I feel like you could do those back. You could do those back to back, but they're obviously not going to air them at the same time. The other thing, which I think it does play a factor and should be something to sort of take into consideration, is Amazon obviously now has sort of Thursday night football rights. And so when you go to Amazon, like it doesn't necessarily advertise Wheel of Time on Thursdays. It's like obviously NFL, because that's nothing makes like no TV show
nothing makes
NFL.
money like NFL.
Yeah, NFL. Yeah. So that could definitely sort of play a role into it. At the same time, though, Amazon does have that ability to say, hey, watch Wheel of Time. You're already watching Prime. You're there, which they're doing right now, but it's a ways into it. And they did it before The Witcher. The other thing is, when does House of the Dragon come out? Because I don't think anything's going to try and go up against that.
No one wants to go up against that.
That would be stupid, because that show's going to just crush like everything.
I think it will.
I don't think
any
show is going to touch House of the Dragon in ratings. I think House of the Dragons will pick right up where Game of Thrones left off.
Yeah.
If not on all, and I mean it in all seriousness, I legitimately, I think it will be especially considering the way a lot of people feel about the last few seasons. I think it stands to be better.
One last thing on Moiraine and losing her power. It does call me back to episode 7 when she's talking to Min. She's like, "What do you see when you look at me?" Min sees this is coming. Moiraine assumes she's going there to die. Now she's lost the power. She can't touch it. We're told that if you lose that, boy or girl, male or female, you're going to want to die. You can't handle life. Men are going to go mad without it. I don't know if that's the same for women in this universe.
And he teases her.
Right, and he does. You could feel it on your fingertips. I love the way he said that. It's just there, and you can't touch it.
I actually like this comment right here, Chris McDonald. So in the books, kind of spoil something here just a little bit, is the Nynaeve Lan relationship. Obviously, like they're already talking potentially about Nynaeve going to become an Aes Sedai, and Lan belongs to Moiraine. Well, right now, he's not bonded to Moiraine. So do we just speed along the process, because it takes a lot longer in the books, because he actually gets like warded to somebody else for a bit, and then ultimately I think it's pretty apparent he's going to end up with Nynaeve. So could speed that along, and Lan and Nynaeve's relationship, because they're already like way ahead on Lan and Nynaeve's relationship.
And they keep making the comment, wisdoms never marry, right? You hear that drop 2 or 3 times in the season, and then you get the comment at the end. I don't know if it was in this episode. I rewatched episode 7 before this one just to get me into it. They make the comment. Lan tells her, he goes, I wish I could be there. Does he say in this episode or last time? I wish I could be there to meet your, without saying it in so many words, to meet your bonded warder.
Right. Yes. Something like that.
I don't know if it's in this episode or the last one, but they're really building that up for what's to come.
Yeah, and this is still going to have to be a second. This is going to have to be a second watch for me too, and it will definitely come back. Definitely come back for that. So, all right, let's move to a final topic here, and I think this will be kind of a good place to sort of roll out. But before we do that, guys, just real quick for everyone's hanging out here. So next week, I don't know what day we'll be doing sort of a live stream, but Ez and I will be doing one. I know he's sort of traveling next week, coming back. He's in Germany right now, coming back. But Ryan and I next Wednesday are going to be covering Book of Boba Fett for our Star Wars podcast, Hyperspace Hangout. So we will be going live over there. Does the same time work for you, Ryan, next week to
That's
cover?
Perfect. Let's do it.
What
right
same time? So what?
I don't know when
what time works for you? So it launches at midnight, so you can watch it as early as you want, like midnight, like of the day. So it's like for me, I watch it before I go to work in the morning.
Yep. Whatever works for you. I'm usually kind of a night owl. I stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning. You're a few hours behind me, so whatever works for you and your schedule.
So
just let me know.
would 7 p.m. Eastern? Are you in Eastern time?
Yeah,
right.
That's fine.
Yeah. 7 p.m. Eastern. Perfect. So it'll be same time, and we'll just hop on live. That's over on our Star Wars channel, Hyperspace Hangout, and you guys can all come over and we can all talk the first episode of Book of Boba Fett, and have a big stream party over there as well. So before that, though, let's just dive into sort of one kind of final topic here, and I guess we'll just kind of talk last just sort of thoughts here of the episode, of the season. Just where do we feel about the overall show and going forward? And I guess I'll toss it to you, Ryan.
Yeah, and I've kind of dove into this a little bit so far today. And just real quick, I did say that we wanted to talk about the Damani and the Shan Chan. I was following the comments. It looks like they, everyone in the comments kind of worked that through. So I don't think we need to dive into that too much. Sounded like, the person that made the comment was just questioning if that's what he was looking at. So I think we're fine to save that for another day. Man, I did. I liked the season. As far as things that I was, before the season started, that I was hoping to see, saw most of it. We got a lot of it. The acting was great. The casting was on point for about everybody. I can't, and especially with Matt, I'm so bummed that he's gone, that he left, because he did a great job, and his mannerisms and his facial features, the way they designed his hair and the scruff, he was perfect for his character. Took me right into his character from the book, and the way he acted in it, I have big hopes for who's filling his shoes, and I'm sure it'll be great too. I don't think we've seen any reason to doubt that. So I'm bummed. Hopefully everything's good on his end now. I mean, it's been a while since, whatever. I know we don't know what the issue is. Hopefully everything's fine there. Other things that we're missing, we didn't get more death. We
Right.
didn't get a lot of Padan Fain. I really thought we were going to see a lot of him in this season, and we didn't.
I felt like it's like you see him, okay, he's there, and then like he's there in that sort of hidden thing. You hear the whistle. Like it's one of those things you really have to sort of pay attention to. But
Right.
again, to me, it sort of fell into that wasn't explained enough category.
About the only thing we get from Padan Fain after his the early part of episode 1 is he's pretty much just there to they're showing the viewer that he's there as the human, and in this episode we get him. He's the human voice that gets them into Faldara. He's the one that's getting them into the ways, that's leading. He's kind of like that early scout that's ahead of the army, right? We get a little bit of that, but we just don't get a lot of his character. I think we will, because he's such a big character. I think we'll see a lot of him in the next couple seasons. For the light and Shinar, when they start screaming that when they run to the gap, I love that. How did he get the dagger?
Wasn't really explained.
Yeah, we don't have that info yet. Did he leave the
dagger? I chalk that up to Barney Harris leaving. Yeah, I feel like that was going to be expanded a bit more.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So, well, for me, ultimately, again, I genuinely enjoyed season 1. I really, man, there was definitely moments in it where I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. A couple moments throughout the whole season where I was like, I don't know, didn't really like that. Like for me, I loved episodes 1 through 3. I genuinely enjoy a lot of the actors. Somebody said the Padan Fain actor was great. A lot of the actors I feel like are spot on.
Really, they are
really
great.
And I really like the casting a lot. There's definitely obviously places where we can improve. I think they need to sign up. It's hard to say like slow down a bit, because it's like, well, we're trying to cram all this stuff in, but at the same time, it's like I feel like it really needs like a minimum of 1 more episode a season. Even if we're going to push stuff together, because like it felt like they're trying to do a little too much of like, well, we need to build hype and kind of change stuff, which I'm fine with, like who's the dragon, all that stuff. But then you didn't really explain who the Dark One was. We need at least like 1 sort of episode, as even though it could be kind of boring, that's like a lore dump, just to kind of like, and I think we're going to get that in season 2 with the girls at the tower. Get a little bit of sort of lore just to sort of build importance to specific things as to why they're important. And like, why should we fear the Dark One? All we've heard is that he's really bad.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily show him doing anything. And that's a problem, I think, in anything where it's like, you have to build your villains. For me, it's like some of the best things ever, movies, shows, whatever, are where you have like a super strong villain, because the villain makes it all better. It's why The Dark Knight is like the greatest comic book movie ever, because the Joker in The Dark Knight is just so freaking fantastic that every time they step on screen, you're like, oh my God, I'm like terrified. It's actually one of the things they did very well in Wheel of Time with the White Cloaks. Is man, we were all like, I'm really loving the White Cloak sort of angle and arc of this. But then when we get to the Dark One, it didn't hit as hard, because they weren't built up except for a couple of visions, and everyone just sang He's powerful. So I think that'll get explained a little bit more. Because we did just see a Forsaken gentle Moiraine. So now we have some weight, a little bit of weight to this character, which can get bigger and expanded upon more. I definitely do not think that Loyal is dead.
No.
And
way.
then and then the other thing definitely, and I'll agree with you, Ryan, here is, man, the biggest kind of letdown in season 1 for me was Rand. There needs to be more Rand, and I get that they're building out the whole, it could be Nynaeve, it could be Egwene, who is the dragon.
Yeah, the mystery of it.
But then when we realize it's Rand, like, I feel like this episode, we get the most Rand we've gotten all season.
I feel like they could have added 20 or 30 minutes to this episode and done so much.
Right. Yeah, even like 10 minutes more to this episode would have it needed a little more room. And then I look back at other parts of the season where I'm like, I think it could have trimmed that down a bit. Like where Steppen died, and they're doing like the scene. Like, it was cool, don't get me wrong, I was there for it. They didn't really necessarily explain like, oh, he's taking on the grief for everyone, and it's a really big deal. I feel like honestly a lot of that could have kind of been cut or like shipped out to later, because it's like, okay, we're going to explain the bond between the Warders and the Aes Sedai, but there's nothing really that's that important after that point about the bond between the Warders and the Aes Sedai. So was that really that important in the first place?
Did we need that much of that episode for it? Yeah,
exactly. Because you could go back and trim a lot of that stuff, and then now you suddenly got like 20 more minutes that you could use to kind of build up stuff and build a villain for later. So I think I again, that's stuff you can improve on in season 2 and stuff like that.
I do have one more that I'm disappointed on, and it's not really a disappointment. It's just I'm questioning when we're going to see it. You guys, I mean, we've waited all season to get the Luz Theron. Thank you. I'm getting all the character names mixed up in my head. It's why it's so hard to read this story. Once you get into the later books, there's so many names and they start blending a little bit. Luz Theron, we finally, and I'm fired up that we got it at the beginning of the episode. We only got part of that scene though. When are we going to get the second half of that scene? Because I don't think it's going to start season 2 because there's no context for that. Are they going to throw that in the middle of season 2? Is that coming at the end of season 3?
It's definitely going to happen. Now again, they introduced Luz Theron, which is good. That was a good thing. And now we can expand that out. Are
they going to give us more than just that prologue from the books? Are they going to give us a lot of
I think so.
You know, 100%. how he came to power, how he controlled. I mean, I like that they gave us a little bit of the, you know,
you see
the men and the women were together, and then now we're going to split.
You see Luz Theron. Rand sees him there at the Eye,
right?
And like just for like a quick second. So I think that'll get expanded more.
I think we're going to get a lot of him and his backstory that we don't from the books early on.
Yeah, and another thing that's going to I think that'll be a much better in season 2 is once we begin to see that, you know, the Forsaken are not the Dark Ones, but they're aspects of them. Because even in the books, it's like the Dark One is just this thing. And it's really the Forsaken that are our villains, that are the ones doing all the bad things, as well as Padan Fain and the White Cloaks. So like the White Cloaks were great this season. The Dark One, which is really just a Forsaken, not so much, because we need to build it up. So as more Forsaken come into play, especially like Lanfear, who's probably going to be in season 2, I think that is where it really begins to. I think it's where it's really going to hit its stride and its shift, because now we sort of now we have the Forsaken as our main villains, who we'll see more regularly, causing trouble, and then that's what causes our heroes to get stronger, because they kill our family, they kill our friends. It's that resolve. It makes us hate them. It makes us want to defeat them. You begin to take the steps along the journey, and that's where it's at. So once the Forsaken show up, which I believe is definitely happening in season 2, we have the Shan Chan coming in as well as sort of another sort of villainous army of bringing a
We're
little
gonna
bit of
have a
political
lot of
aspects of it.
villains. You know, we're gonna have the White Cloaks. We're gonna have some Forsaken, probably some. We're gonna have the Shan Chen, and then,
but we're not
we're
always
gonna
dealing with them.
We've got the Red Cloaks taking over. I'm assuming. You know,
Right.
We're gonna be all over the map, and I am excited to start learning about the map. Right, we've got all these different regions that we're probably going to start going to. You know, Logain. I mean, they keep hyping it up at a few different points in this season. His army, you know, the Aes Sedai are not well thought of in this world. I mean, whether that's true or not, that's what they're talking about. There's going to be a lot of, it's going to be a lot of various wars going on, and we see that in the books. But I think we're going to get a lot of buildup of that coming in season 2.
Yeah, agreed. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I think that's a good place to stop it. Just because I don't know what time it is, but it's 7. It's 7 o'clock for me, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. Well, I can see on your clock it's 10 o'clock there. But yes, we will be back. We definitely want to bring on more of our Patreons members to do sort of like a roundtable, get everyone's thoughts. Now I can go back this weekend. Everybody have a great Christmas, great holiday, and we can begin to sort of watch it. And then we'll do definitely like a season 2 or season 1 sort of breakdown. What do we think about the whole thing? Reflect upon it. Season 2 predictions. We've been asked to do a book versus show comparison, which now is like a lot. And then awesome. And then always remember, guys, that this is actually a reread podcast we do as well, where we are going through the books. So we'll actually be jumping right back to picking up right where we left off, which will be at we're about to start book 6, which is Lords of Chaos. And wow, just finished the prologue of it, and things get real interesting real fast. So definitely get to go on there. So Ryan, as always, thank you for coming on. Thank you for everyone who's hanging out. I hope you guys have an amazing holidays. Stay tuned. We'll be definitely putting out clips of this podcast or the whole episode, as well as well, not really predictions, but you know, there's the lore, and we're gonna be doing explaining videos and season 2 thoughts and all of that stuff. It's been so much fun covering this season with everybody hopping on and just going live and having all these people in here and everybody. So so much fun. Stay tuned. And again, remember, this coming Wednesday, Ryan and I'll be live over on our Star Wars channel, Hyperspace Hangout. Look it up. And we'll be covering Book of Boba Fett. So if you want to come over there, talk some Star Wars, do another one of these hangouts, same time, different place, but it'll be just as absolute fun. So as always, thank you guys. And remember that the grave is no bar to our call.